Joining us now is the host of the Latitude Adjustment podcast, Eric Maddox from California. He's joining us from the West Bank. Eric, thank you so much for being here.
Go ahead.
So you were recently in the old city of Hebron when a clip of you being detained and dragged away by Israeli forces went viral around the internet. We're for people who are just listening to the podcast, we're rolling this here. Can you tell us kind of what you were producing first of all when they came upon you, and what preceded this moment, and then we'll get into what happened afterwards.
Sure. So in brief, Hebron, or Khalil in Arabic, or Khalil in Arabic, is kind of the entire occupation of the West Bank condensed down to miniature. Mm-hmm. Whereas in some cases in the West Bank, trying to travel from city to city, you'll be faced with checkpoints and occasional incursions by the IDF and police. In the city of Hebron, it can be street to street, mm-hmm. just trying to cross. You won't be forced to cross through checkpoints, show ID, and subject to all manner of harassment from settlers who are literally living on top of Palestinian shopkeepers and homes, and also invading their homes, stealing their homes, etc., and pushing them out of the city. So every Saturday for some time now, there is a march by the settlers through the old city of Hebron, which is still, a place where Palestinians live and do their business. And it is overseen by, protected by the Israeli forces, the police, and to some extent, I would imagine, the IDF as well. And that's what I was there to document, along with several Palestinian journalists on this past Saturday, 4 days ago. And so what happens is the Israeli forces will show up preceding the arrival of the settlers, who are given like this really bizarre entitled tour that forces Palestinian shopkeepers to shut down their business while the Israeli police are pointing their rifles at children, at the elderly, at the infirm. I mean, this isn't just my opinion or something I've seen. I documented all of these things as they were happening. And at a certain point, you can see the settlers that are maybe, 30 meters away. And at that point, I was complying with all of the orders of the Israeli police. And at no point, I should make it clear, at no point was I told to put away my camera or to stop filming or to hand over my camera. At no point before I was tackled and detained. And we were complying, like backpedaling. And as we're backpedaling, they're screaming at the shopkeepers and various people, Palestinians in the street, to abandon where they are, to get inside, close their shops, kicking their stuff around, and otherwise making their lives hell. And at a certain point when I could see the settlers in the background, I just yelled out, I've been seeing, my first time in Palestine was 16 years ago, okay? I've had colleagues, journalistic colleagues that I have worked with killed in Gaza, and we're now facing, close to 200 journalists and associated media personnel who've been assassinated in Gaza since October 7th. And also the routine harassment, detention, and torture of Palestinian journalists in the West Bank. So, this is personal to me, as well as something that I think should be, a concern to all people, and journalists especially, around the world. And so when I saw this as something at a certain point, it snapped for me just like it snapped for university students over the past 19 months. We've been saying the same things that I was saying in this moment, which is free Palestine. I'm an American. I'm sure some of you who are in this settlement tour are probably American or European citizens as well. And I'm tired of paying for this with my tax dollars. This is ridiculous. And at a certain point, the Israelis started filming me, the police. And I just said, look, enough is enough. Do you feel brave flagging women and children and the infirm with your weapons? And this is when they charged me, lunged for my camera. It wound up on the ground. I wound up on the ground. And then I was immediately just beaten, handcuffed. And I can tell you what happened after what you saw in that footage, because that's the soft part. Everything after that was the actual hooding, beating, torture, all that stuff.
Right. So as you're leaving, there's somebody else filming you, and they say, who are you? You say, Eric Maddox, I'm from California. So these police who are dragging you out of there, they know you're a Californian. And so,
I mean,
which
their
doesn't
English wasn't
just
so great,
like,
but
it
I would
doesn't
assume
mean,
they know what California means. Yeah.
right. Yes, I mean, definitely they know what California is. The whole world knows what California is. And this is not to say that because you're from California, you should not be beaten and tortured and illegally detained. Like, nobody should be. However, it's to acknowledge the geopolitics of the situation. So, so they take you away. Where do they take you, and what happens next?
I do underscore your point, because that's the reason I'm coming on this show and any other media I do. This isn't about me as an American getting roughed up. And it was more than roughed up. I mean, I don't want to downplay it either. I was tortured for 4 hours. And what was done to me doesn't even begin to come close to what is done to my Palestinian colleagues in the West Bank, or those who have been assassinated and continue to be persecuted, targeted, and their families as well in Gaza. So I want to make that very clear. If anything that was done to me, multiply that by many, many factors, up to and including death of my Palestinian colleagues. So that's why I'm on the show. That's what I want to call attention to. And also the just absolute cowardice and abdication of all moral responsibility and professional credibility by much of Western English language media, who should be, in my opinion, resigning en masse in protest at the absolutely abysmal coverage and facilitation of this genocide that's been going on for 19 months.
And then I think that's a valuable context and a valuable caveat. But as you said, it also does not justify violence against even for only 4 hours. So what did happen to you?
So after I was out of, first of all, the people who killed me, I didn't know them. They were just random people who happened to be standing there. One of them you can hear on camera ask me, "Who are you?" And I don't know where. I mean, if I look dazed, it's because I had my head pounded into the cobblestone streets. Well, like several men with assault rifles took shots at me. And they escorted me, to a gated area at the head of the old city, out of the view of the cameras. And that's when they just started beating the hell out of me, punching me in the back of the head, throwing me on the ground, and then demanding that I get up. I'm cuffed and unable to move. And then they got me to the top of this hill next to an armored car. And they didn't seem to be clear on what they wanted either, because some of them were telling me to get in the vehicle, some were telling me to get out. Then they hooded me, put a black hood over my head, told me to get on my knees. I refused. I figured if they were going to do something terrible, I'd rather not be on my knees when they did it. And so at that point, they threw me on the ground and started beating me more. They avoided my face for some reasons that might be obvious, but they started going through my things, confiscated my wallet, my passports, and then continued to beat me, put me in the military or the police vehicle, continued to beat me in the vehicle on the way to the police station. And at this point, they had my camera, which is my phone, and they were twisting my arm to the point of feeling like they were going to break it, and demanding that I unlock my phone, with like the biometric scan fingerprint thing. And I refused, and they were trying to open my hand and force me to use my fingerprint to open it. And I just clenched my fist as hard as I possibly could and somehow managed to avoid that. I'm sure had I been Palestinian, they would have been brutal enough to where they might have broken me, But so they eventually got me to the police station. The police were there. They saw what was happening, didn't do anything to stop it. I spent about 4 hours in the police station, at some points having my handcuffs taken off, being taken in to do like a preliminary discussion with the police officer who told me, asked me if I had a lawyer. I said no. So then they put me in touch with the Palestinian lawyer from Haifa. She told me that I was going to be interrogated. I had the right not to say anything, but it might be in my interest to actually tell them at least what had happened. Then I was again cuffed. They let me get some water, but before I could drink from the water bottle, they re-handcuffed me, beat me some more, and then uncuffed me, took me back, did the interrogation. And at that point, the police officer started asking me, what was your opinion of October 7th? Are you affiliated with any anti-Israel groups? Are you taking money from them? And I said, I don't see how these questions are in any way relevant. Are you going to ask me about all the bruises that are all over my body? And he said, no. And he said, why are you in Israel? And I said, I'm not in Israel. And I mean, I was hooded for some period of time. So unless you've taken me out of Hebron, I'm not in Israel. And he said, yes, you are. And then he tried to ask me where I had been staying. and who I was affiliated with locally. I refused to answer those questions because I didn't want other people to be put in harm's way. And I also told him I didn't recognize that he had any legitimacy as a law enforcement officer because he had no interest in conducting an actual investigation. And then I was booked. I mean, I guess like I was fingerprinted. They did the full biometric scan of my face. They took my mug shots. And I mean, it just went back and forth between these procedural things that was odd. I mean, there was this weird like juxtaposition of like kind of benign procedural stuff with just beating the hell out of me, and just this really casual attitude toward just sadistic treatment. I could hear another Palestinian guy around the corner from me being, I imagine, beaten severely because he was screaming his head off. I couldn't see him, so I yelled "Free Palestine." Got beaten some more. And then just mockery, like holding cameras in my face and presumably taking pictures for Instagram. And I just said right into their camera, I said, look, whenever this is translated into Hebrew, I want you all to know I'm surrounded by 6 heavily armed men while I'm handcuffed, and I was taken here because I was taking pictures. You guys are not on the right side of history, etc.
When they're hitting you, you said they mostly avoided your face. Like where would they hit you? What would they hit you with? How many?
Back of the head. Back of the head. Occasionally, they would like try to sit next to me or on top of me just to try and intimidate me. And so if I would move away, or when they were taking my picture, I would stand up and tell them to stop. And they would hit me or use pressure points like in the inside of my neck. A lot of this was like what are called stress positions, where they would take my head and force it down so hard that it felt like the back of my neck was going to break, putting their knees and their elbows on top of my head, but like against my hairline so that you couldn't see the bruise. A lot of the beating was like on the hairline so that the bruises aren't as easy to see. I mean, I do have bruises on my body. I mean, you can see like a little bit on my wrists here, like, et cetera.
Yeah.
But most of it was done in a way that seemed like it was intended not to leave marks. And again, I'm sure had I been Palestinian, the treatment would have been far, far more severe.
And what, if anything, have you heard since being released from the Israeli government? Just the general reaction since the video has gone viral? What has the response been like?
Sure. So the charges weren't clear at all. I was told something along the lines of obstructing with the police action. You can see from the video that I provided you guys, like the last thing, thankfully, that actually was recorded.
Yeah.
They're charging me. And at no point have they told me to stop filming, right? So the idea that I was in any way interfering is preposterous. Not that that would even justify what they had done to me. The response has been and I do need to be careful, I think, in some ways, but what I understand at this point is I have not been formally charged with anything. I'm just under suspicion of what, I have no idea. And I've been banned from the city of Hebron for 15 days from last Saturday, which honestly seems pretty light. Some people, some good friends of mine, I believe swung into action very swiftly. And I understand that Congress people and other journalists, et cetera, were contacted. I don't know. I haven't even had a chance to catch up because I'm still just dealing with this. All happened 4 days ago. So I'm still just kind of recovering. And then on the internet, I mean, that all seemed to go viral in about a day. And I mean, people reaching out to me privately, like through social media, it's just been amazing. Like, I don't think I've had one single, and like, I can't even keep up with all the messages. It's all been just supportive. And that's been validating. And also just, it's done a lot to help me kind of process that experience. And it's also just, that experience is humbling also just in like, I don't know that I could have handled 2 days of that. And there's people that have been locked up for months, years, and treated worse than me the entire time. And those are the people that are still alive. Like, I am not a particularly brave person. I just had enough. And everybody has their point where they just feel like, look, like, silence is no longer an option. And that, like, what everybody has been saying from university campuses all around the world for the last 19 months, I stand in solidarity with them. I stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people. And I also feel like the people who are perpetrating these crimes need to feel like there is no place where they can be where they will not be exposed to shame for their behavior. Including Palestine itself.
Did any of the people any of the officers that you interacted with throughout the entire time express any concern or reservations that they might be screwing up by doing this to an American?
Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. I mean, who knows what's going on in their head and whether or not that they pulled their punches a bit. But I mean, they knew where I was from. I did speak to a few of them in English. And there were IDF soldiers who came. I became like this point of curiosity where more and more of them kept coming and like asking me, like, what are you doing here? They were asking me, like, how do you feel about Eurovision? This bizarre questions.
Right. Oh, yeah, because they got like snubbed from Eurovision or something.
But this is like right before I think those it was just so freaking surreal. Sorry, on so many levels.
Yes.
And while this is happening, and they were also I kept talking because of the adrenaline and just telling them, look, like, can somebody translate the word coward for me, please? Tell them all. And I'm like counting. Some of them spoke Arabic, like they're Arabic speaking Arab Israelis, I'm assuming. And one said his family was from Yemen originally. And so I just counted off in Arabic, askari, like soldiers. There's 6 soldiers, 1 journalist, واحد صحفي, like with my hands behind my back. Do you really feel brave? This is something that you're going to be proud of showing on Instagram or wherever you're planning on posting this? So no, 0. I mean, I talked to the police officer. He kept repeating things that I can't repeat every time I would tell him, look, like, aren't you embarrassed? Because he would close the door periodically and let them rough me up more. And then I would tell him, look, you do realize what's happening when you shut the door. And he just ignored me. No concern at all.
Tell people where they can go to find your work.
Sure. They can find my podcast, which I'm going to be relaunching at latitudeadjustmentpod.com, or just find Latitude Adjustment Podcast at Spotify, Apple, wherever you listen to them. And also you can find me on social media on Instagram at Madmaddox. My name is Eric Maddox.
Well, Eric, thank you so much for joining us, and wish you safe travels back to the United States whenever you decide to come home.
Hey, if you liked that video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Breaking Points.
If you want to see the rest of Counterpoints, go to breakingpoints.com to become a premium member and get the full uncut show every morning in your inbox and on Spotify.